Anna, I think we've known each other for as long as I've been here, which I think now amounts to my 44th year. And I believe you were here even before, you were here when I arrived. When did you first come to Findhorn?
Oh, this is my 45th year, I think.
45th year. So when did you first come to Findhorn?
1974. Well, I first came in 1972, just for a visit, and 1973 for another visit. And then we decided to move here in 74.
So we in this case was
family.
The whole family?
We was myself, my husband, the 4 children, and my husband's 2 parents.
Wow.
8 of us.
8 of you?
Yeah.
And who's?
6 of us lived in here, and the parents lived next door.
That must have been for a very convivial situation, I would imagine.
Yes, more or less.
Convivial and probably a little bit challenging as well?
Slightly.
So who was primarily drawn amongst that group? All of you in concert, or was there one of you?
Well, originally. Well, originally it was Dick, because he was in the RAF over at Kinloss.
So you were stationed as a family?
We were.
At Kinloss?
No, we were down in Cornwall, our last posting. And Dick was up here on his own and would come down and visit.
Up here being in the community or on the RAF?
No, in the RAF.
Uh-huh.
And he was asked to be one of the officers to welcome Peter and Eileen when they went over to visit over there.
Uh-huh.
And he was quite intrigued, so he asked if he could be one of the officers coming back in the return visit. And then he started seeing things and feeling things, saw ley lines, and kept talking about Eileen, and I thought, hello. I thought he was having an affair with Eileen.
So you had to come yourself to check it out, you know?
Not exactly.
So were you seeing and hearing things as well, other than what you might have suspected?
Not before I came, but I did see things on Iona. He actually had contact with things before we came up here to live, actually.
You mean Dick had spiritual experiences of his own?
There was a thing in the new bathroom. We had a bathroom in the house. We lived in an old mill, a water mill in Cornwall. And we had a new bathroom built on, sort of into the moor a bit. And something was in there. And
something was in the bathroom?
And it scared the kids occasionally. And I went in one day and I was cleaning my teeth and I thought I saw something in the mirror and freaked out and ran up into the kitchen and told Dick about it. And he went down and he was in there for hours doing something or other. And when he came back up, he said, "It's all right, it's gone. I've got in touch with it and it's gone back onto the moor," because this was part of its land and it was the spirit of decay and rotting, which is what you were feeling. That's what scared you. And it said it wouldn't. And actually we didn't feel it anymore, so...
So Dick was himself a sort of a sensitive in many respects.
Yeah.
And you also had experiences?
I had experiences on Iona, well, and here actually. In the sanctuary here one day, I opened my eyes and I saw an aura around Craig Gibson. And I sort of blinked and thought, what's that? And then on Iona, when I was walking along the beach, I saw little black things running in the corner of my eye. And when I looked, they weren't there.
Well, these are the kind of experiences that I guess a lot of people who were originally drawn to Findhorn were having.
Yes.
So there was this kind of like, I mean, what made the place interesting or special to you?
The fact that it was new, very different from where we were living, and the people were great, the ideas were great. It was nice starting to learn about the spiritual life.
So something about the spiritual life, huh? It was opening up to you and to everybody here?
More, I would say more to Dick. The children didn't seem to get anything at the time, but they realised when they left here that things weren't the same for them as they were their friends outside. They were more advanced in a way.
Advanced in what respect?
Well, spiritual, I suppose. They had a wider view of the world and what was going on.
At what point did you satisfy yourself that your husband Dick's interest in Eileen was not personal or sexual?
As soon as I met her, I realised. When I first met her, she was dressed in a long yellow dress, standing outside the community centre. And we had a chat, and I thought, no, it was the spirit that was drawing him. But unfortunately, it was the spirit that drew him to his second wife as well. Sorry.
Well, there's a lot of that kind of history in the community, I have to say.
I know.
And, you know, indeed, Peter himself was subject to those kind of...
Oh, he was, yeah.
And ultimately, indeed, he left the community in 1979 to go off with another woman to Maui and develop his feminine side, as I recall. So you were here drawn principally by your husband's interest. You
Yes.
came with your family. You had some experiences analogous to those of your husband. And you liked the place.
Yes.
Why do you like it?
There were only 90 people here, and I got to know everybody. We were a very close community. People picked up rubbish and put it away in the right place, which they don't seem to anymore.
So it was a very conscientious community.
And the
very tightly
gardens,
bound.
the gardens were beautiful. Everyone cared. I don't like the fact that people are too busy to look after their gardens nowadays. And that was the whole point of this place at one time.
Well, as one who also has lived here for some time, I must say at the moment, I'm just totally impressed with how striking many of the gardens are, particularly those who belong to people who live here. I think the people who are simply working in the foundation are too busy to attend to their gardens, but those people who live here are being very conscientious. I mean, I live next door to Oriole, and her garden is just ablaze. And of course, Henrietta Rose, who unfortunately just passed, has a magnificent garden.
Well, yes, I totally agree.
But looking after your garden.
It's just that the families have left this area.
Yeah, they have.
And now it's just workers. And, yeah, it's not the same.
The foundation takes all of their energy running the foundation, yeah. Anyway, you made quite a name for yourself in the community, primarily through sacred dance. How did that happen?
Peter met Bernard Voisin, and when he found out that Bernard taught dance, he wanted him to come here and do it here, because there was very little of that kind of thing here at the time. Singing, music, art, dancing, and so he wanted to
develop the arts.
Develop the arts here. And so Bernard came and I did his first workshop and loved it, because I've always loved dancing anyway. I've always been a dancer. And went to the second one, and I think it was after the second one that we decided we wanted to do it ourselves here. And he had left us the music, but not steps. And so somebody said, well, let's put the music on and we'll remember the dances. And most people remembered them in different ways. And they said, oh, what are we going to do? And I said, well, I wrote them all down, because I don't remember things very well, so I decided to write them down. So they said, oh, well, you must be the vocalizer then. And I said, no, I can't do that. I've got 4 children and a husband to look after. And eventually I said, yes, I would. And so we used, I think it was Bernard's way of writing them down. Was it?
I think it was one of his students brought it over.
I think it was. And I sort of changed it a bit so that it fitted us. And that became a popular way of writing things down. And so it went on. And then Babs Stuhlemeyer took on the sort of vocalization, and I took on the teaching, because she was a foundation member and I wasn't. Or
But you
was
became
I?
primary. You became the primary focus, a focalizer
I
on
was,
sacred
I
dance.
was, yeah.
For how long?
And when she went, 20 or more years.
Really?
Yeah. And then after we'd started doing workshops here, some people said, do you think you could come to our countries? Because we can get a lot of people together, but we can't bring them all over to Findhorn. So I said, yes, I'd like that. So I started off in Paris. And that grew to around Europe. And that grew to America, Australia, New Zealand, and eventually Brazil. And I was the first one to take it to Brazil. So, yeah.
What is it about sacred dance that you think makes it Findhorn compatible? I mean, is there something about the spirit of the dance itself, which...
I'll talk about the spirit as it was. Yeah, I created various ways of doing it and calling it the circle and the earth and spirit, and said that we were actually, when we were dancing, we were tapping into the essence of the dances and passing that out, like birds looking for worms. We were finding it with our feet, with different steps. I decided to put the spirit of Findhorn into the dances of Bernard and mix them. So Bernard was the father, Findhorn was the mother, and the baby was sacred dance, Findhorn sacred dance. And it was like that for years and years, and then Keith came. We danced a lot together. And so it continued. But a lot of people who came here didn't like the word sacred dance because they thought people outside wouldn't want to do that if it was sacred. It would put them off. So they called it circle dance when they took it out of here.
Well, they were really, I mean, they all had, they were folk dances, weren't they? They came
They
from,
were all folk dances.
came from a variety of European traditions.
Absolutely. Bernard had gone around collecting them in out-of-the-way villages and so on, where everybody did the dances, old and young, because he didn't want it to just be remembered as beautiful young people in costume on a stage doing a folk dance from a various place. He wanted to keep the essence. And so that's what he did. He went to all these places and collected.
And what do you think the essence was?
Well, for me, it was using the dances to enable us to send out healing and peace to the rest of the world, which is why we, after we'd finished a dance, we would just hold hands quietly in order for that to go out.
Well, I mean, I think sacred dance certainly was an expression of group consciousness, which is something the Foundation has long cultivated.
Plus the fact, that it wasn't competitive.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
emphasise that you're not competing with anybody else, which in folk dance or other forms of dance can be. You're competing, you want to be best. You didn't have to be anything in this.
You could just fit in with whatever.
You just fit in.
Yeah, anybody could do it effectively. with their mind to it.
Absolutely. Well, I just saw it as us getting together to create an energy to send out into the world.
Well, we happen to be sitting here with two people who have danced with you or done a lot of sacred dance, and I certainly want to open the space for them to ask whatever they may feel moved to do, to ask.
My name's Brant Banbury, and I have been in the Findhorn community for 2.5 years now, and I've danced for 4 years. And when I came here, I was very happy to meet Keith and Anna and learn a lot about how the sacred dance was formed, brought out into the communities. And the one question I've got for Anna is, I'm quite interested in choreographing dances, and I was wondering how it was for you when you first choreographed your dances, or your first one, and bringing it from an idea to a group, and how that felt for you.
They came in very different ways. One of them I started choreographing with a fellow dancer. We were on the landing upstairs somewhere, and this dance started forming. But later I gradually changed it a bit. But the one I remember most was, I believe, the first one. There was a piece of music in a sacred dance workshop which was finishing the following day, and somebody said, "Oh, we would love to have a dance to this piece of music. Do you think you could do one?" And I said, "Well, you're leaving tomorrow." And they said, "Well, if you can't, you can't." So I went into the kitchen, and there was a hob in the middle, and played the music, and immediately the dance came to me, and I danced around the hob doing this dance. And next day I was able to take it to them, And I think I'll have to get Keith to tell you which one it was because I've forgotten.
What came to mind immediately though was Mykonos. I don't know what you call that.
No, it
though.
wasn't Mykonos. Mykonos was one I made up to honour Bernard. It was the sacrifice of the bull.
Mm-hmm.
And you strode around like soldiers or something taking the bull to sacrifice, and then you became the bull and danced into the circle and back. And then later I decided that instead of doing that, instead of being the bull, we were actually throwing everything that we didn't want of ourselves into the sacrificial fire.
Wow.
So we would go in, throw it, and come back. Okay, we're okay now. Got rid of all our stuff. And yeah, that was Mykonos.
So healing and wholeness comes to mind.
Yeah,
Because healing and wholeness were the angels that you always invoked when we danced at that time. You've done a few, and many of them I don't know.
Barton's barn dance, but that would
Oh yes, I used to love that.
I love that one.
That's
I
what
was really happy to
That died a death.
Which one was this?
Barton's barn dance. I enjoyed it last year. We did it at the festival. It was really
It's
fun.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wondered how I know you can't remember the dance that you choreographed that day when you were dancing around the kitchen, but can you remember the feelings you had like doing this dance and taking it to the group?
Just the fact that it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was guidance.
Yeah, again.
it was.
It's the muse.
And that was how it all first started, because after I'd done sacred dance here for a while, I was asked to go down to a place in England to do a workshop, and for the end they wanted me to go outside into a huge field which had a bandstand in the middle and create dances for this. And I went out and I stood on the grass and I looked at it and nothing came at all. And I said, God, I'm not going to be able to do this. Would you do it for me? And I'll do the body bit. And immediately, absolutely immediately, I saw how this was to develop. And I had one dance there and one dance there, you know. And they all told a story, one following on from the other. And then the last dance was a simple one where anybody could join in around the bandstand. And I remember standing out of it and looking at everything going on and thinking, crikey, I did this. Wow.
Except you didn't.
Except I didn't. And that went on through my career. And I remember when it started dropping away. You know, when I did workshops abroad, I can't remember about the ones here, but when I did workshops abroad, they always finished on time without me knowing that was the time. Everything worked perfectly, even in the one that I had a whole host of ladies who thought they knew better than me. People asked me to show them Mykonos, and I showed them and they said, no, it doesn't go like that, it goes like this. And they showed me how it went, and I said, well, why does it go like that? And they said, well, that's how so-and-so taught us. And I said, well, no, actually it goes like this. And they said, well, how do you know? And I said, because I created it.
Fantastic.
So, okay. He changed it. But you know, that happens so easily, how things get changed.
Yeah.
Well, I must say that sacred dance has become literally an institution here in the community. There are still people who have taken up the banner and still go around the world to offer these various workshops.
Yeah.
And of course, there's also this wonderful festival that we have every year here in July, Sacred Dance and Music Festival,
Yay!
which you were a part of creating, I believe. So, I mean, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for your wonderful contributions.
Thank you.
And I remember particularly the way you used to literally grace the floor with your various creations.
I used to enjoy making up dances to sacred dance music. So we had two. We had New York, New York, and everyone dressed up differently around the world. And what was the other one? Oh, I can't remember the other one. But there was, one that we did to Misa Lou, where we all dressed in black with the men had a red rose in their teeth.
Right, yeah.
And we did a sort of tango version of the Misa Lou.
It's not. I just not long ago I learnt the different versions. So thank you, because that's one of my favourites. It's so funny. It's such
all
fun
the
to
turning.
do. The tango one. Yeah.
Yes, I've had a great life with sacred dance.
Keith?
And actually, if my husband hadn't left, I would never have had that career. Because he tried to persuade me that that wasn't as important as looking after the family and the garden, etc. And so...
Well, I don't think Eileen would have reached her fullness either if Peter hadn't left.
Yeah.
So it's at least plausible to assume that it's all part of the divine plan.
Yeah.
You think it was?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
Because I knew I had to do it, so I sort of fought against him, if you like, I said, I've got to do this. I know I've got to do this. So...
Well, now you've done it.
I've done it, and...
It's part of your legacy.
It is.
How do you feel about all that?
Oh, I'm thrilled to bits. And, I just like... I like knowing that was me, because that's the only, to me, that's the only really good thing that I've ever done.
What about the kids?
That's the other one.
Well, I'm glad you got a place in there.
Two things. Yeah, the children, I got 4 wonderful children, and the dancing.
One of the great things about this community is that, in a way, it's kind of like a blank, it's not exactly entirely blank canvas, but it's certainly a canvas upon which we can all co-create. And your co-creation, as I say, is one that will endure.
I want to add something, if I may.
Yeah, you can.
When I came and danced with Anna, you had an extraordinary gift that I haven't seen in any other teacher, though I've seen people who perpetuate the way in which you teach, of bringing healing through the dance, and bringing, as you said at the time, in 1980 or whenever, bringing the spirit down into the body, bypassing the mind. When I began teaching, and I was still living in Wales at the time, it was through remembering you and invoking your higher self, or whatever it might be, to come through me and teach the dances. So thank you for that one, Anna.
I think we're done. Thanks. Anything further? Any PSs?
Just a little one from me, maybe. Anna, what have you got any advice for younger teachers coming up through the coming here and experiencing this? Any advice?
One thing I would say is have more dances ready than you think you're going to teach.
Mhm.
Because if the energy drops and you say, well, the next dance is, you've got to put a dance in that will lift the energy
It's
again.
the energy. Yeah.
And so they've got to be aware of the group and where it's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the group is feeling.
Mhm.
And not just today I'm going to teach this, and this.
Yes.
You've got to be aware of the group.
I experienced that with a group of Portuguese, very high spirited, and you have to play with these energies, and I became aware of it. It was the first time I taught a dance up at Clooney, and 60 Portuguese people came in. Thank you for the advice.
Thank you. Well, when I went to Brazil, I remember teaching Breton dance.
Breton,
Breton,
B-R-E-T-O-N, yeah.
yeah.
Britain.
And of course they were all doing it in a Brazilian way, with a lot of hips and shoulders. And I stopped them and I said, no, not like that. It's a different energy. And I talked about that. And then I said, try and do it this way. And so they got that and they did it that way. And at the end, everyone was totally silent and a few of them were in tears. And they said, I've never felt that feeling before. That is amazing. And I thought, yeah, this is what it's about.
Sacred dance.
Sacred dance, linking cultures.
It's one of the
Getting-
things. Sorry to interrupt you, Anna.
It's all
One of
right,
the
love.
things that was marked in the number of workshops that I've been in with you would be people in tears at the end of it through the meditation dance or whatever, because they had been touched by something.
Let me just ask you one final question, if I might, and that is, you haven't been dancing for some time. You've passed the baton over to other members of the community. What's your life like now, and do you still enjoy being here?
The truth?
The truth.
I have depression a lot more than I used to. Missing the dancing is awful. It's a big part of my life, gone like having an arm cut off or something. And so I took up singing, I took up painting again. And each time I've tried to take up something else, like I've taken up being with children, because I adore being with children. And now I find my second love, gardening. I can't do that so well anymore. And I have had depression quite a bit lately because I can't do nearly as much in the garden as I want to do. And I just think, what's going to happen to my garden if I'm not doing it? I mean, I have a gardener once a fortnight, but she doesn't do the fiddly bits. I like the fiddly bits. And yeah, I tried to do some yesterday and I just got tired out. And
Well, you are, what, 82 now, 83?
82.
Well, you know, that's what happens to the body after a certain period of time.
Yeah, I know, but
But what?
but I don't want it to.
Well, you're not alone in that, that's for sure.
Oh dear. Because I'm still the same inside, you know, I'm still young, I think, inside. In fact, I don't think I ever grew up properly. And
But you still love to have morning coffee with the caravan park crowd,
yes,
and I'm sure you do that. What's that about? What's that about?
I don't know, somehow I became an honorary member. And I've done the same thing with Trees for Life. I go and have coffee with them occasionally of a morning, and I'm sort of one of them in a way. I went down to brunch on Sunday, not to brunch, to have a cup of tea, and there were too many people for me. I couldn't cope. So, you know, just a handful of people, and I love it. So I'll just have to start adding. Like, I've got the caravan park people, I've got Trees for Life.
Well, I'm sure you will bring your wonderful spirit into whatever situation you find yourself. It's been a delight to know you for this many years, because you're always delightful and cheerful whenever I encounter you. But I'm sorry to hear about your occasional depressions.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, when I was a teenager, I had chronic depression, and I've had it ever since. And thought about suicide once, because I thought if I'm not here, Dick can marry somebody else that will be a better wife and a better mother. And I sat on the bed with a black blanket over me, not a real one. And oh crikey, what did I say? I said one of Eileen's things. What's one of Eileen's famous sayings?
All is very, very well.
That was the one. All is very, very well. And the blanket just disintegrated. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to do it. But I've had depression ever since I was a child, and been treated for it. And when I'm with people, they don't see that side of me, except very close people.
Have you thought about joining the eldest daughters group? You might find some help there.
Where's that?
Well, I don't know.
It's Lizette's initiative, isn't it?
Yeah, Lisette initiated it.
Are you an eldest daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. You might find that helpful. I mean, I guess they share their experiences.
Well, I never. Oh, another group I've just joined is the Knit and Natter group.
Oh, yeah.
And that was great fun.
With Cornelia.
With well, it was Gabby at the time.
Oh, yeah, Gabby, yes.
But there was a young man there who he was sitting next to me, and he decided he wanted to learn to knit. And the person opposite was teaching the person next to her to knit, the young person, and him. But she had very small needles and very thin thread. And of course he couldn't really see from across. So I said, well look, can I do it with him and you do it with her? And I gave him my big needles and thick wool. And I'm just a good teacher. That is my one, I can teach anything.
So
and
when
I know.
Well, but you know, obviously, yes. So when all is said and done, are you happy to be here? In the community?
Where else is there?
Well, there's always the next world.
Well, do you know, I think about that sometimes too. I wouldn't mind if I went. Because I'm not doing anything anymore. I don't serve anybody anymore.
You bring good cheer into a variety of situations you just described.
I'd like to add to that. I think you're here to inspire people as well.
Somewhat.
You're inspiring to me personally because I'm learning teaching dance, because I'm very inspired by your story and you've just read your book and stuff like that. So I think you're very cheerful when I see you on the runway. I love our little chats, you know. So
Yeah.
You inherited Eileen's mantle as an inspiring person.
That is amazing. I'll try and remember that.
Yeah, you should. I'm going to try one more time to end this interview. Thank you very much, Barton. It's been delightful to speak with you and hear a bit more about your experience.
You weren't cameraing that all the time, were you?
He was cameraing the whole thing.
Oh, oh, that's awful.
He's got an interesting editing job ahead of him, I might say. I'll be interested to see how that comes out, I must say.
Oh, darling, don't put any of that stuff in.
Listen, this is the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Well, it is true, yeah.
That's right.
Mm. What are you saying, baby? Do you want some food? Or a drink? Or do you want to go to bed? It's not talking to me.